Assassin's Creed Valhalla versus Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Which is the better game? Both are newer games that came in the form of an RPG experience. In this video, I'll be taking a closer look at both games, comparing them in terms of their world, story, protagonist and overall value. I'll also be giving my personal opinion on which game I think is better. Of course, many people will have different opinions, so please do remember that this video is purely my opinion. Oh, and this is a spoiler-free video, so no major story spoilers included. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. When it comes to the world of both games, Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes place in the world of ancient Greece in the years 431 BC to 422 BC, whereas Assassin's Creed Valhalla takes place during the Viking Age in the years 872 AD to 878 AD. But which setting for an open world is the better one overall? Let's start with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game takes you on a massive adventure across ancient Greece during the Peloponnesian War's early stages. We witness an experience of Sparta and Athens clashing, reshaping the entire Greek world. The world itself is simply ginormous. From the moment that you step foot onto the first island, being Kefalonia, you would have thought that this was the entire map. Well, at least that's what I thought. But then when you actually open your map and realize how big the entire world is, that's when you knew you were playing a mammoth of a game. Each island has its own city, whether that be the capital city of Athens, all the way to a small city like Melos, hidden away on a remote island in the seas. The colours of the architecture, statues, buildings and beaches are all very vibrant and easy on the eye. However, what makes these cities in Assassin's Creed Odyssey truly remarkable is the incredible attention to detail. It's interesting to see how ancient Greece has influenced contemporary architecture and culture. The ocean itself in Odyssey is also what makes this world stand out. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of open water to sail through with your ship. The ocean is full of life, with dolphins, sharks, and even sometimes whales swimming alongside your ship, while schools of fish dart in and out of the water. From the moment that you're thrown into the life of the Mystios, we're given the opportunity to explore pretty much everything on the map. And all across the map are bounties, battles, and a ton of side quests. To make matters more interesting, some of these side quests in my opinion are the best you'll ever find in a game. Of course, that also means that there's some rather dull side quests too, but the positives definitely outweigh the negatives in this aspect. Overall, the world and setting of Assassin's Creed Odyssey is one that definitely stands out and is very easy on the eye. It's got a lot of colour, a lot of cities, and the whole Greek theme is very obvious throughout the world. Now let's move on to the world of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This game takes you on a brutal experience of the Viking era, mainly through ancient England. I say mainly because this game has two regions you can explore, Norway and England. Let's start with Norway. Norway to me is a beautifully snowy and cold landscape. It's where you'd spend your time before the actual events of the story kicks in. There was a lot to do in Norway, such as hunting legendary animals like elks and bears, finding treasure, climbing snowy mountains, and there's also a secret boss fight hidden within the Norway caves. And now for ancient England, and this for me is where it started to go a little downhill. In fact, I preferred Norway more. When it comes to England, just like Odyssey, its sheer size is massive. But old habits die slowly, and Ubisoft continues to cling to the belief that larger is always better, and as a result of this, the game is filled with massive open spaces that offer little beyond a few scattered collectibles. The side quests in this world are massively reduced when compared to Odyssey. Ubisoft decided to reduce the amount of them, which is very evident. I personally did not enjoy Valhalla's side quests because they felt more like Eivor just randomly stumbling across a random encounter, much like in Red Dead Redemption 2, but definitely not the same quality of that game. These random encounters, aka side quests, only took up your time for quite a few minutes at most, which did not really make an impact in an engaging way. The only reason to complete these supposed side quests is to earn XP and gain skill points to spend on Eivor. Oh, and don't even get me started on the anomalies scattered throughout the world. Those for me were the epitome of not fun. And speaking of the world, one thing I'll give Ubisoft credit for is that the entire map is practically in use for the narrative of the game, meaning that you'll have to travel to all the locations in order to complete the story of the game. Each city throughout England is very sophisticated and I will admit has a lot of good attention to detail. While you're exploring England, you and your clan will have a settlement called Ravensthorpe where it's expandable and upgradable. Also throughout England there's a ton of kingdoms, ranging from the chilly lands of Jorvik in the north to the crowded and somewhat grungy city of London, as well as the revered Winchester, known for its sanctimonious attitude towards people. So if I was to pick which world between Odyssey and Valhalla is best, for me I'd go with the world of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, mainly because of how refreshing and alive it felt. The colours and Greek architecture for me stand out the most between the two. I'd much rather play through a world of sandy beaches and vibrant cities over a mundane portrayal of ancient England. Now let's move on to the story of both games. I will not mention any major story spoilers, so if you're watching this trying to see which game is better to purchase, you'd be safe here. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you play as a mercenary who fights for both sides in a conflict. You could choose between a male and a female protagonist, but canonically the correct choice is Cassandra. The actual narrative of the game is basically you trying to unite a family and overthrow a cult. The Ubisoft development team has put a lot of care into making Assassin's Creed Odyssey seem as historically accurate as possible, while still writing an engaging storyline. Throughout the entire narrative, you'll meet many historical and mythological characters that you may have learnt about in history class, although it starts off a bit slow and confusing, with a challenging tutorial integrated into the battle of the 300 Spartans, followed by a sudden shift to a character without any background information or guidance. Once you reach mainland Greece and delve into the main storyline, this is where it captured me and kept my attention the most. The cultist part of the story was great. It consisted of a group of mysterious individuals who we track down, expose their identities and eliminate them one by one. Some cult members are easy to find while others are well hidden, but no matter how difficult they were to find, they always put up a fight, which is what I found great. They would not just be hidden throughout cities and pathways, but also on boats, and even in places you'd least expect. So overall, the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey was pretty good. It may have started off quite slow and the pacing of certain parts did feel a bit off, but as a whole, it's a great story. If you're a die-hard fan, it may not feel like an Assassin's Creed story, but it was for sure a decent one. The story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla was a confusing one for me. Whilst I did enjoy some parts of it, there was also some parts that just straight up put me to sleep. We play as Eivor of the Raven clan, who's a Viking, and just like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, we get to choose the gender of our main protagonist. The entire narrative consisted of Eivor venturing from Norway to England with hopes of a new kingdom and expansion of land. This would consist of a Viking tradition style where we'd yield wealth, raid villages and just do Viking things. However, Eivor quickly realizes that staking a claim in England will not be easy. The country still bears the scars of the Roman Empire's colonization attempts, and there is a considerable resistance from different groups, including the Danes, Saxons, Picts and Britons, and even other Norsemen who are reluctant to cooperate and share the land peacefully. England is currently fragmented into 4 major kingdoms: Mercia, East Anglia, Northumbria and Wessex. As the game progresses, without giving away any spoilers, it becomes apparent that Valhalla aims to take us beyond the borders of England, expanding the story even further. The whole arc of the main story felt like a true Viking one, which is great in terms of realism. But that doesn't mean that there's no mythological stuff in the story, because after all, this is an RPG game. There's a great presence of Norse mythology implemented into the game, which if you enjoy this kind of stuff, it's great for you. So ultimately, deciding on which story I preferred, I'd probably give it to Odyssey, but that's not to say that I enjoyed it a lot. In fact, both stories, in my opinion, are probably the weakest aspects of their games. However, Assassin's Creed Odyssey just slightly edges it, mainly because it contained the more entertaining sidecast that kept me going for the entire narrative. Now it's time to talk about the protagonist of both games. So for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm going to refer to the protagonist as Cassandra because that's the choice that I went with when I played through the game. I felt like her voice actor was a lot better than Alexios. I say this because his voice actor made Alexios feel like a character that had a lot of underacted portions in the way he spoke. Cassandra was a character that I enjoyed quite a fair amount. She had a personality, drive and was an overall charismatic character. Cassandra's impressive lineage in her family made her a pivotal figure in the shape of the game, and due to a tragic childhood experience, Cassandra has also developed a tendency to be straightforward and easily agitated. However, she also possesses a sharp sense of humour, kindness and unwavering loyalty. Although Cassandra may reprimand Marcus for his schemes, she ensures to protect him from the consequences of his actions. The way that she interacts with Phoebe is particularly heartwarming. Naturally, Cassandra holds varied perspectives on laws and government. You see, while the game gives us the power to determine her choices in various moral dilemmas, Cassandra herself always strives to do what is morally right, even when faced with no apparent correct answers. Now for Eivor. I chose the male character for Eivor in my playthrough. I did this because it felt more natural to select a Viking that was male in an era that was full of brutality and ravaging. Assassin's Creed Valhalla focuses on Eivor as a brave Viking warrior. However, his character to me felt short in a lot of aspects. Eivor lacks this special charm that makes him truly enjoyable to play as. And although Eivor is generally honest and straightforward when dealing with the hidden ones, there's something missing from them that keeps them from standing out among other protagonists. You see, Eivor has a likable personality. It's not engaging or humorous, but it's just simply likable. Of course, there's always going to be that tension of the opinion where a Viking is only a raider and a pillager rather than settlers. But with Eivor, his story was more for searching for his own peace. Honestly, it's quite hard to say any positives about Eivor as a protagonist. I made this video where I put Eivor dead last in my rankings, so I'd be lying if I was to say I prefer Eivor over Cassandra. Cassandra felt more personality driven and had a lot more going for her. So what's my final verdict? Which game do I prefer the most? Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Assassin's Creed Valhalla? When it came to the world of ancient Greece or the Viking Age, I went with Assassin's Creed Odyssey in that regard. I felt like the setting was a lot more engaging and visually pleasing on the eye. For the story, I'll have to give it to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that's not a good thing because both the stories in my opinion were the weakest aspects of their respective games. Oh, and lastly for the protagonist, I gave it to Cassandra simply because she was more entertaining and likable. She actually had a personality and did not feel lifeless. If I was to choose which game I prefer overall though, it would of course have to be Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I mean, it just blew it out the water. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to see me compare two other games, leave it down in the comments below. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one.